Hello, my name's Robert Dean Steele, and today we're looking at Psalm chapter 7. Now, this is basically what they call a Shigoan of David. Now, he was also singing this to the Lord concerning, what was going on in his life at the time. Listen to what he says. O Lord my God, I take refuge in you. Save and deliver me from all who pursue me. Now, David was well aware of that as the king of Israel, and also as well, he would consider a warrior king, because when he wanted to build the temple for the Lord says, no, I'm sorry. You're a man with too much blood on your hands, and I'll give that task to your son. But David was well aware of the fact that he had to defend his land against the Moabites, against the Ammonites, against the Philistines, and other nations around, of course, who were, his enemies. He didn't want to make them his enemies, but that's what happens when you have a land like the nation of Israel. And of course, you also have to realize that after the first warrior king that the nation had was Saul, and he was that definitely type of man. And then David, of course, established the kingdom and made it so good that Solomon didn't have to worry about warrior wars, and he had 40 years of prosperity. That was all because of David. Now he says this, oh, they fear me like a lion, or they would tear me like a lion, and would rip me to pieces with no one to rescue me. That is the intent of his enemies. He says, but this is where David gets. He says, O Lord my God, if I have done this, or if there's any guilt on my hand, if I have done evil to him who is at peace with me, or without cause have robbed the foe, then let my enemies pursue and overtake me. Let him trample my life to the ground and make me sleep in the dust. So he's basically saying, Lord, I'm doing a type of self-examination. So, Lord, I've discovered that I haven't done these things. But Lord, if I had, then of course I would expect some consequences and retribution to my action. But he says, O Lord, rise in your anger. Rise against the rage of my enemies. Awake, my God, and decree justice. So here he's saying, Lord, okay, I've done this time of self-examination. Now I'm looking for you to rise up and be my defender and also decree justice on my behalf. He says, let the assembled people gather round you. Rule over them from on high, and let the Lord judge the people. Judge me, O Lord, according to my righteousness, according to my integrity, O Most High God. So he says, Lord, when we gather together, Lord, I want to make sure that you will judge me according to two things. Number one, the righteous life that I have displayed, not only in the public realm, but in the private realm as well, and also my integrity. Remember, he has already done a time of self-examination. He said, Lord, if I have done these things, then I need to ask for forgiveness. But Lord, I have kept very close tabs on my life. Now, we know that David was far from perfect. I mean, we have Psalm 51 as an example of that, which we will do later on. But the reality of the situation is, at this point, David had two things on his side. He had righteousness and integrity. Then he goes on to say this, O Lord, righteous God, who searches minds and hearts, to bring an end of violence of the wicked and make the righteous secure. He says, Lord, you know our hearts, you know our mind, but the simple fact is you want to bring the end of wickedness and violence. And he says, you want to make the righteous secure. And that's the blessing, the promise, and also the benefit of being a servant of the Lord. The Lord is the one who's going to defend you. That doesn't mean that everything that happens to you is good, but all things work together for good. That's what Paul was saying in Romans 8:28. He says, my shield is God Most High, who saves the upright in heart. God is a righteous judge, a God who expresses his wrath every single day. So David just simply says, Lord, you're my shield. You are the God Most High. You are El Elyon. You are the Almighty One. You are Yahweh. You are the one who takes care of us. And Lord, you save the upright in heart. you are looking for people who are upright. He says, and you're also the righteous judge, and you will express your wrath every single day. He's basically saying, Lord, you are the one who's going to exact vengeance upon my enemy. And he says this, you do not relent. You sharpen your sword and you bend the string of your bow. He has weapons prepared with deadly weapons, and he makes his ready flaming arrows. So he's using the analogy, of course, of the Lord is the one who will execute judgment, and he will do it in such a manner that those who come against him or oppose him will be taken down. He says, he who is pregnant with evil and conceives trouble gives birth to disillusionment. He who digs a hole and scoops it out falls into the very pit that he has made. So he uses the analogy of a pregnant woman. And he says these folks are pregnant with, of course, evil. And when they give birth, it is to two things. It is to, of course, disillusionment and also evil as well. And then he brings the consequences. He says, he who digs a hole and scoops it out will fall into the very pit that he makes. He makes it very clear that there are consequences to both evil and to good. With trouble, he causes recoil on himself. His violence comes down on all his head. So this is basically a warning to the wicked, but also as well a reminder to the righteous that the wicked will not prosper. With the same measure that they, of course, sow, they are going to reap. When you reap to the flesh, or sow to the flesh, you reap to the flesh. If you sow to the Spirit, you reap to the Spirit. Then he says, but I give thanks to the Lord because he's righteous and will sing his praise to his name and to the Lord Most High. So here is David giving this wonderful song, a song that was singing about what will happen to the wicked, but also as well how the Lord will deal righteously and with justice, with mercy and with grace upon those. And he says, Lord, because of this understanding, I'm going to give thanks to you. Lord, because of his righteousness. Lord, you are righteous. And so you want us to be righteous. Lord, you are loving, so you want us to be loving as well. But Lord, what I'm going to do is I'm going to give thanks. And I'm going to do it in the aspect of singing praise to your name, of the Most High God. So David pens this wonderful song, but also as well this prayer as well. And it's a wonderful prayer to remind us about the consequences of being a godly individual versus an ungodly individual. A little thought for you today. My name is Robert Dean Steele. Thanks for joining me.